turn your game idea into cash? Join our biggest game jam and win money. $20,000 prize pool. Here's what to do. Step 1. Download HypeHype for any device. Step 2. Make an amazing, simple game, which is playable with one touch and includes a leaderboard. Step 3. Publish by June 12th. Use hashtag HyperGameJam. And that's it. You're in. Got no experience? No problem. We have 2 categories. One, for new game creators. Other for more experienced game devs. Best part? You and the community decide the winners.
What is happening, Hypesters? Step 4, you come to the HypeHype Live and ask questions to help you create whatever it is you're trying to create. And that's what we're doing today. What is happening, everybody? I am Shogun. I'm going to be your host today. And as I tried to clumsily tease there, because I did not prepare that at all, today we're just doing editor Q&A. You guys had a ton of awesome questions for me last week. So I decided this week I was going to not prepare too much and hopefully leave it open for all of you guys to ask questions. Let's see what's going on here, because I realized I've made a fatal error that's going to make this a little difficult. But let's see. Oh no. I'm getting also an error on... Well, not like, well, it's an error, but it seems like, are we going? I just want to see if the YouTube stream is still up and running. Yeah, it seems to be working. All right. Anyway, I realize I did not switch over my chat window. I still also do not have a mouse here. So I'm just going to step away from this for like one fast moment. There we go. One little clicky of the mouse, and now I should be able to see the chat. Awesome. Maybe the chat is not updating. Anyway, I'm just going to look at it in the YouTube window. So let's continue from there. Oh, sorry. I see one other thing, because we have we had a little hiccup again. One clicky. Okay, now hopefully I've resolved all issues. A little bit of a rough start again this week. It happens sometimes. But I see also my chat is updating, so that's great news. And I see PT Jones having a little bit of issues this morning with his hype. And Hype's not posting / saving. Okay, that is a known issue. The team is working on that. I actually am not 100% sure of a workaround, but there should be one. If you're getting that, I forget what the exact error is, but something about the metadata not updating or something like that. Yes, welcome to the stream. That's going to be confusing, but fun. Thanks for stopping by. Also, what's up, Dorian? Phoenix Studios, I saw in here earlier. Everybody in the chat that I haven't said hello to, hello, welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming by. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing basically editor Q&A today, but I did want to start out with one short demo, because I realized last week there were a few people asking about the 2-to-4 decoder, and we spent a little bit of time talking about it, but I never actually did a demo. So we're going to start off with a quick demo of just like how exactly to work with the 2-to-4 decoder. All right, and what we're going to do here is I'm just going to set up a little scenario. So let's have 2 of these cubes. All right, well, actually, let's put some logic in the cube first. It's going to be dynamic object. Yes, let's go to the game editor. I'm going to put a... I think I'm going to need a collision trigger in there. I'm going to need an object touch. The object touch is going to be drag camera. And then we have the collision trigger, yes. Let's just say blue, that's fine. And so what I'm going to do here is, so we got this one. Maybe we need to move this camera out a little bit so we can see a little bit better. Just doesn't need to be perfect. Just a demonstration here. Set camera, cool. All right, so yeah, we got the thing there. We can move it. Okay, great. And then we're going to duplicate this one. Boom. All right, and then we're going to have a flat, let's say flat square. Flat square, this should work. Well, actually, is that going to, I want to make sure it's going to have a little bit of depth to it because we are going to need it to act as a trigger. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to set up a really basic logic that says if no cubes are touching this big square in the middle, then the square should be red. If one cube is touching the square in the middle, the square should be yellow. If both cubes are touching the square in the middle, the square should be green. Really basic, but you know, that's kind of a really simple kind of basically oh god, I've completely lost my ability to talk right now, haven't I? A simple demo that I can do really quickly. But generally speaking, when you're working 2 to 4 decoder, it's probably going to be maybe something a little more complex than this, but that's fine. This is just an example. All right. So what we're going to do here. So first, we're going to need to keep track of whether or not each one of these guys, and there's actually a lot of different ways we could do this. But again, just a basic demonstration. And then we're going to need a 2 to 4 decoder. It's right there. Okay. So this one, we're going to say this is going to be blue group. We need it to be unmovable. And we need it to be a sensor. We actually don't need it to be a sensor, but it'll be easier if it is a sensor. Eddie Anderson. What's up, my man? That's a name I haven't seen in a little bit. Hope you're doing good, dude. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I haven't missed any questions, but it seems like it's a lot of discussion about everybody's projects. All right, so let's turn off this snap. I'll just put this back towards the ground a little bit so it's not super in the way. All right, and this is going to be blue group. Yes, okay. So we have trigger here, blue group. We're going to say when we start a collision, then this is going to be 1. So that's on. When the collision ends, we'll set that back to 0, output value 0, and we're going to want our starting value here to also be 0. And that's going to output to the A value here. And then same thing on this side. This is going to be output value 1. On collision end, output value 0. Starting value here, 0. And that's going to go to value B. So basically what we've set up here is a basic type of case situation, right? So the case is basically if this cube is not touching the square, then it's off. If it is touching the square, then it's on. 0, 1, off, on. That's how the 2 to 4 decoder works. It's binary. Off or on is the only two inputs it can take, and off will be 0. On could be literally any value. It's easy to use 1, so I always use 1. So now we're getting our inputs here when these cubes touch. So now we're going to say both off, visual material slot A, red. 1 on, visual material slot A, yellow. B on, visual material slot A, also yellow. And then both on, visual material slot A, green. All right, so that's the basic setup that we have here. We can see we'll take one, and there it's turned yellow. We take that one out, it turns red. Put this one in, turns yellow. Take this one, put both in, turns green. And that's the basic concept of the 2 to 4 decoder. You have two possible states that you're looking at. Both are binary, on or off. And then you have four possible outcomes from those states. Both on, both off, A on, B off, A off, B on. Whew. Okay. So that was the one demo that I had planned for today. And while we have a lull here, no questions, I would definitely like to remind you all that there is about 4 days remaining. So you have until Monday. Sorry. Sorry, I'm just checking here because it does seem we're maybe having a little issue with the YouTube stream. When will all the winners be showcased? So that will be next week, right here on this stream. 1 week from today, we will be playing all of the entries. Well, I'm not going to say all because it really depends on how many there are. We will play through entries next week on this stream. If there's quite a lot of entries, we probably won't play all of them. But I'll get through as many as I can. Hold on. I'm just going to send a message here because that's a good thing to do on stream is just to start texting with people. But this is kind of important. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Phoenix, there does seem to be some sort of issue with the stream. So if it is lagging a little bit for you, it is probably not a problem on your end. I can't guarantee that, but that's just what I was texting here with Yelp. Seeing if there's something we could do quickly to resolve it, or if we just have to power through and get to the end of the stream. But if it's looking all right for you, that's great. Uh-huh. All right. No questions. You guys were just like rolling with the questions last week. I was really expecting a lot more questions. But I take that to mean you guys are getting good at using the editor. You're going to have some awesome stuff for us next week when we play the Hyper Game Jam games. Hey, Dorian, thanks for stopping by. Take it easy. Have a good one. Oh, and now the stream seems to have died completely on YouTube. Or am I imagining that? Can anybody hear me talking right now? I'm gonna take it as no because Usol's coming. Yeah, oh, that's fucking YouTube just died. Okay. Oh, well, yeah, I put it to the. Yeah, yeah, we could give that a try. Now I've unmuted the microphone. Now we're back. Okay. So, thank you, Yup. So yeah, we're just messing with some tech stuff here. There's some sort of problem going on, and we can't really figure out what it is while we're live. So we're gonna have to try and figure that out later, and hopefully we can just get through this. But yes, for anybody watching that hasn't heard or seen, there is some issue with the stream we are sending to YouTube right now. So it probably is a little choppy, a little laggy. It keeps freezing for me in my preview window. But we're going to just try and keep going. I'm just going to keep talking until nobody talks back to me. And then I'm going to assume that the stream has died. Let's see. What will happen to entries who end up having 2-finger controls that may not qualify? I'm not going to say it for sure it would be disqualified, but it probably could be disqualified if you do not have one-touch controls. The Elastomania hypes. Yeah, I remember those. Those were fun. And then Eddie's was talking about right as we went into the issues there, having some issues with the tutorials in the app, not completing properly. We do also have here on the YouTube some videos. And of course, if you always need help, again, you can ask right here. I'll do my best to show you. You can go to the Discord. You can ask there. You can ask other creators in the app. There are, at this point, I believe, a few different kind of chat groups with some creators in there, talk about their creations, stuff like that. You could try and get yourself into one of those. Did I mention the Discord? Discord's a great place to go and get some help if you're looking to learn the editor. And then, of course, we have the wiki. If you don't know about the wiki, wiki.hypehype.com. You can actually access it from within the editor. Let's go to the world builder. So when you're in the details panel here, all these different nodes, if you want to know more about how that node works, when you select it, you see that little question mark comes up. You can tap on that question mark and it'll open the wiki page for that node or tool. And there's some, feature specific ones as well. Anywhere in the app you see a question mark, you can tap it and it'll take you to the wiki and you can learn a little more about whatever thing that question mark is attached to. I mean, I can't promise anybody a job on the stream, but send your info. Let's see. I don't know if we're doing remote QA. You should be able to use your PC. HypeHype does run on a browser. We do also have Windows and Mac versions for desktop. I will say that HypeHype is designed and developed first for mobile, so a lot of the times the browser or the desktop apps might not be in as good of shape as the mobile app. I also, Denver, use an iPad. It is... All right, well, if we're not going to do actually a lot of editor questions, I might just start working on something. Unfortunately, the things I've been working on lately, not one-touch games. Let's see if I have something one-touch I can work on in my drafts. What was this? Did this have... Yeah, this has... Because it has gas and brake. It's not one-touch. Okay. There was this that I was... This is what I was working on for the Save the Forest jam. I never finished this. I never even came close to finishing it. This is the whole of that one. And it has 2 buttons, so not a one-touch game. Good Trials-esque games on HypeHype. So, of course, being me, I tried to do such a thing, and I would say I did not do very well. Let's see if I can even find it here. It's going to be a really old draft at this point. Here it is. So I got this guy. And it's, again, 2 touch controls. I have gas, I have brake, and then when you're in the air, gas and brake become lean. And actually, it's not terrible. But it doesn't feel anything remotely close to Trials. And being a guy that worked on the Trials franchise for about a decade, I'm pretty picky about my bike physics. And I mean, I'm not even picky like the hardcore Trials players were, but there is a certain level of response feel that I want to get out of the bike, and I haven't been able to get it kind of. This is as close as I've come to something that kind of works. So maybe I could build a level for it. And there was at one point, let's see if we go back here, discover. At one point we had I can't believe on the first try I remembered that. But we did at one point, we did a kind of Trials like Hype Jam. This was ages ago. So there's a few that came from that. Again, like bike physics is not terrible, but it's also not exactly what I'm looking for out of this type of game. What else do we have in here? I think this was the one that won that competition, if I remember correctly. Oh no. Ouchie wouchie woo. good ones from this? Well, here was the template. So you can look for that Moto Trial Hype Jam 8 template if you want to try and do something. For me, the thing about the bike in the template was that it has like no acceleration. It's really sluggish to get going. I made here's mine. Why is it unlisted? I unlisted this. It must be broken somehow. And this was right after I started working here. So this was like one of the first hypes that I've made. But you see there, like acceleration's really slow and going uphill, like super slow. Oh no, Phoenix has a question, but the stream's lagging. That's a bummer. You should go ahead and ask it if you can hear me talking to you. Go ahead and ask the question. If it happens to lag out and you don't see the answer, I could give it to you again through some other method. But yeah, so there's a little bit of trials action in the HypeHype. I think we can do better, though. I'm sure we can do better. I don't know if I'm the one to do it. Okay, so Eddie says, is there some real animation capabilities in HypeHype? I mean animation by limb, as in other engines. So the short answer is no. The long answer is maybe someday. I think that's definitely something that we would like to have. When you kind of think about all the different ways you could customize your games beyond what is currently available, like some of the really common ones is I want to use my own assets, my own 3D assets. Again, you want to use your own animations, kind of like similar type of stuff there. That is all stuff that we would really like to be able to let you guys do. It's really just a question of when that might come, and I don't have that answer right now, unfortunately. But yes, we would like all of those ways that you can customize your games to really make them your own. We want to give you those capabilities. But all of that gets, of course, a lot more complicated. So for right now, you get the assets and the animations that are provided. And of course, you can go to the asset requests, animation requests, music requests, any sort of asset request you have. You can go on Discord and drop it in the asset request channel. And our guys will see if they can hook that up for you. Human Fall Flat. I'm not super familiar with that game. I've only kind of seen a little bit of gameplay from it. But yeah, it seems like something you should probably be able to do. I think one challenge you would have now is multiplayer is more difficult. Obviously, it's multiplayer. You're dealing with a lot more inputs, just more complexity all across the board. So with something like Humans Fall Flat, which, if I understand correctly, is a multiplayer kind of battle game, you might have some sync issues that could be kind of challenging to work out. But definitely that type of game style should be possible. Hello, Mimic. You have 79 games. Congratulations. Are we doing game counts now? How many games do I have? Oh, it used to just give you a number there. It doesn't give you the number anymore. Well, I have a lot of games here. Oh, that's right. I was looking for something to actually edit because we're spending editor time here now. All right. So, what do I have in my drafts that could be a one-touch game that we could work on now? That's not going to be too complicated. I was working on this update to the red light, green light. But I think what I have to do in this one is pretty complicated. That would probably be pretty boring to watch. Okay, question from Jammer Sonar. Can you have one HypeHype game that links to other HypeHype games and an end score leaderboard? So there's two parts to that question. The first part, can you have a HypeHype game that links to another HypeHype game? Yes, you can definitely do that. And at the end, have a scoreboard. At this time, no. But that is another thing that we are working on, is the improving and adding more ways that you can combine hypes together. But let's say, for example, I'll just go into my unlisteds here because I know I have some that would fit for this. All right, so here I have these 3 kart racers here. These 3 right here. And so let's say I want to put these 3 kart racers together in a playlist. I've actually already done this. That's why they're here. But so I would go to the first one. We're going to say this is the first one. And then we're going to go to the 3 dots here. And then we're going to go add to playlist. We're going to create a playlist. We're going to just call this kart racing. We put a description there. I'm going to click unlisted. And then you have your option here, browse type. So free browse type means that players can come in, they can look at all the hypes in your playlist and play them in whatever order they want. In order means that the everything in the playlist will be locked until the one before it has been completed. So we're going to do this in order. We're going to add hypes here because these are just coming from my profile. You can add hypes to playlists from other players or other creators. So if, for example, you and a bunch of your friends want to get together and each make a level to a game, then you could still combine all of those into one playlist. But I'm just going to go here. Where's the rest of my kart racers? There's those. Okay, so now we have 3 there. I made it unlisted. So now at this point, I could just go ahead and post. It's been saved. Now if I go to my profile in the unlisted, we have first here is this kart racing. And you can see it has this kart racing tag. If we go in there, we can see the playlist. We can see all the levels. And so in this way, you can have games that go from hype to hype to hype as if they're levels. But at this time, you can't kind of save information between them. So there's no way to do kind of like a combined scoreboard. Okay, PT Jones, is there a way to have smooth rotational movement? So far in my hype, I'm using a rotator node with, for example, 180 y-axis, duration of 2 seconds to rotate an object. Main issue is sometimes the rotation might get a bit junky for a split second. All right, so let's go here into a blank hype just for a moment here. All right. Smooth rotation. So definitely rotator node is probably going to be what you want to use. Actually, I could leave that square there. We're going to need something to rotate. So if we go kind of rotator, we're going to target our cube. And so let's say, are you using that rotator? Do you have it, is it just looping, or do you have it kind of being executed by something? Because that might be part of the issue. Like, I'm pretty sure if you, oops, loop on start, one. Oh, it's being a little jittery because it's got dynamic physics. So we'll just make that unmovable. And so there we've got a pretty smooth one. In this case, I'm using a really small value and a duration of 0. So basically every frame it's turning 1 degree is how I've set this up currently. But if we say move this to 180, set our duration to 2, as long as you have it looping, I think you should be kind of good. So sorry, I'm kind of now my head's popping between two questions. Okay, now 3 questions. I'm going to answer Denver first because that's a quick one. At this time, we do not really have any setting for colorblind people. No. I think, I mean, it's something you could build into a hype, but it would be rather complex. Maybe. I guess it depends on how colorful the hype is. But yeah, at this time, no. No is the simple answer. Eddie Anderson, about the player character, the controls feel a little floaty. Is that something you can edit to tighten up the controls? Yes, absolutely. So the player character that is currently that you can add in HypeHype is just it's a character that has been created. You know, just the way if you were to start from scratch, throw a character in there, and then add everything you need to make it move, make it turn, make it jump, make it do its animations. That's what you get when you go to the asset library and you add one of these pre-made characters. So if we go in here, for example, I always like my simple run and jump, I think is a good starting guy. He's pretty old at this point. I don't know how up to date his controls are. So maybe it's already, I'm starting with a bad example. But so we put that in there. Then we can go to the builder panel here. And we can find on the add-on side, player controls, we can hit edit. And now we have the container here that has all of our player controls. And so from here, you can try and start to make some edits. Of course, there's some really basic edits you can do right within here. So you can open up this player controls pre-made. You can control the speed of the player, the jump power, whether he's allowed to do multiple jumps. And then same with health. You can set the health value, and the turn camera controls the camera. But if you want to get more deep, you can go in here and you can really start to mess with things. You know, I don't know if it feels too floaty. Maybe you want to give the player a little more mass, in which case you could go in here. You could see it's using the player physical material. So we can go to our resources here, go into physics, open up this player. And, you know, maybe it'll feel better to you if you make him a little heavier. It's certainly going to make him jump a little bit lower. And then, you know, like, so we have our joystick here. And that's sending our movement values yeah, are going into this math operator. It's multiplying by 3. Wow, that's kind of a lot, isn't it? But if you want to make them go faster, you want to make them go slower, you can mess around with that value as well. There's also within the player, there's this stabilizer. And that kind of it does a few different things. But I think mainly here it kind of like keeps the guy standing straight up. But it also has some dampening. So you see this dampened flying. So that'll kind of affect how the player moves a little bit, having that dampening on. You can change those dampened values a little bit in there. There you go. Suggestion from Yelp. In the physical materials, you can change the gravity, make gravity a little bit stronger if you want. I think, Eddie, that's not something we've done a whole lot of tutorials about, this physical properties menu. So if you hit down here in the lower corner, right, we have the hamburger menu, and this will bring up a bunch of different options, resources, things you can do with that'll affect your whole hype, right? And this, by the way, I'm working in the game editor here. For also, just to throw this out there, if you're in the world builder, it hides a lot of the more advanced features, a lot of this stuff that we're going to look at that really helps you kind of really customize things. So a game editor opens up all the features. So we go into the hamburger menu. At the top in settings, we have a few settings that are going to affect the whole hype. So the general, we have the primary orientation. Generally, games in HypeHype are portrait, but occasionally somebody makes one that's meant to be landscape, and then you can put it landscape, and the game knows that it should be in landscape for that. Whoops, didn't mean to back out of there. You have your background and fog settings here. There's a few presets. You can also go in and edit those colors, edit your fog values there. The ground, you have kind of 3 options here. You have the flat infinite plane, you have empty, which means there's no ground at all, and you have the height map, which kind of creates some hills based off of an image map, a black and white image. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So ground, I'm gonna put this back to infinite planes. Player save settings, I won't get too much into that right now, but it is possible to save information about a specific hype so that when the player comes back to it, they can have some information saved, whether that's their score, maybe they have some inventory, maybe there's some progress that you can save so they don't have to do stuff again. That gets a little more complex. I won't go deep into it right now, but that's what player save settings is for. Layers is a new one, so I'm not going to get too into that yet, but layers essentially lets you put things on different layers, so you can turn those layers on and off. You can lock layers if you want to prevent things from being edited, that type of situation. If you used other applications with layers, you probably get the basic idea of how that's going to work. Then you got some editor options. I'm not going to go too much into those because what we really want to look at here is the resources. So the resources has essentially everything that you can use that is currently in your hype, right? So visuals is all your visual materials. You can edit them here. You can go in and change some colors. You can hit the plus there. You can make new colors. And the one thing to keep in mind here is, like, say I edit this red, any object in my hype that is using that red is going to change. So you want to keep that in mind particularly when you're editing colors. Is if it's a color that you're using somewhere, you want to keep using it there. You don't want to edit. You probably want to make a new version. Say I want to make a new version of this red, I can just open it up and hit copy, and now I have a copy of that red. I can make some adjustments, maybe make it a little darker, a little less diffusion. And there we go. Now we have like a muted red. We changed the name of that too if we wanted to. And then you have the same thing for physical materials. That's what we were just looking at. So the physical material determines all the physical properties of the object if it has physics, because of course not all objects need to have physics. But if it has physics, there's the friction, the density, the dampening, the bounciness, all that stuff is going to be in the physical material. And you set that in the physical node. So we hit our physical node there, and then you get physical material. And again, we have all those options. And again, from this menu also, we can edit. We can hit that edit button, and then we can go edit those materials. So you don't always have to go to the hamburger menu, but this is where it all lives. And then again, same with texts. We don't have any text in this right now because it's empty, but if we had a bunch of text strings here, we would see all of our text strings. We could edit them if we want to. Again, if there's any text nodes that are using that text string, it's going to change. UI colors, same deal, but this is just for UI, so they're just flat colors. They don't have the diffuse, the spectral, all that type of stuff. Again, particle effects, same thing. You have all your particle effects. You can add new ones. You can edit the ones that are here. I'm not going to go into particle effect editing right now because that gets really deep, and we are running out of time. And then we have some stuff here. Some new stuff, cinematic tracks, I believe is not released yet. I can see that because I'm special. Game resources will show you everything you have in here. So we have all the physical models or all the just models that we're using, any animations we have in here, any sounds we have, any tile maps, any textures. I think textures we don't have yet. That's probably placeholder for the future. And then music, this is another new one, but if you have music in here, any music you add will show up in this menu, and you'll be able to add more or all that kind of fun stuff. And then that's the important stuff. You have some options down here that are some admin options, so we don't need to go through those because you guys cannot see them. Oh man, okay. I think the issue. Okay, sorry, I totally missed some follow up there on the PT Jones question. The issue could be that at times it's not visible on the main camera within the play area. Could this affect it? For example, I noticed that if you use the simple animation node to rotate an object, it stops playing when it gets out of focus. I don't believe that should be the case for the rotator, but I cannot say that for certain. How do I use device info? Okay, so device info, I actually have a hype for this. So if we go, I believe I have it in unlisted here, maybe. Maybe not. Oh, here it is. Device info. Okay. So I set up this test type for device info. And essentially, this tells you the numerical outputs. So all of the outputs that you get on device info are going to output a number, right? So first we have the screen width, the screen height. That's giving the dimensions of my screen. Aspect ratio is giving the aspect ratio there. So is the orientation portrait 1? But if I turn it sideways, then is orientation portrait becomes 0. Is orientation landscape becomes 1. And then again, their orientation change. That one is actually not a value output. That just sends a signal anytime the orientation changes. So is a phone? I'm working on a tablet, so that's 0. Is a tablet? Yes, it is. So that's a 1. Is a desktop? Nope. We already established I'm on a tablet, so desktop is 0. We got the volume level. I don't know if that's my device volume level, because it seems like here, if I change the volume level, that value doesn't change. But it might also just be that that's not updating real time, although it should be. So receiving touch, we should be getting a value there when we're receiving touch, receiving keyboard, receiving mouse. You get the idea there. Um, so essentially, it's pushing out a value related to the device that the player is using. So you could use that, for example, you could use the screen height and screen width to make sure that all your important gameplay stuff is going to stay within those values. Um, Again, like if you want your game to be landscape, you can use this to know whether or not it's in landscape. And if it's not in landscape, maybe give a message to the player like, hey, flip your phone, something like that. A lot of different things you could do with this. Okay, has anyone made a disc golf game yet? I can't say that I have seen a disc golf game. There is your challenge, disc golf game. Go. Device info, we just talked about that. What up, Hype C? If you like to, I can share the link to this. I don't know actually. I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna go to here for a moment, and I'll send this to Yelp right now, and he can paste it somewhere. I don't know if we can put links in the YouTube chat, but maybe if he's paying attention. Otherwise, he just got a link to a hype. He's like, what do I need this for? Let's go back to the game. There you go. Thank you, Yelp. All right, we are closing in on the end here. So if you have any last minute questions, you want some help with something that you're working on, you got about 5 minutes left to try and get it in. We are not officially sponsored by any brands except for HypeHype. But yeah, I have to stay caffeinated while I do this. Animating stuff to move. Okay. We can look at that really quickly. And yes, it's very similar, I would say, to how it worked in Trials, but you have a lot more options. So let's go to the game editor here again. Let's move our camera out just to get it out of the way. So our basic option is going to be, where is it? The mover, all right? And so mover, will target it to this cube here. And so mover can be used a ton of different ways. So I think, God, it's been so long now since I built anything in Trials. I believe the tool in Trials was vector transform, but that was also a tool in HypeHype. I might just be confusing that. That was the tool we had before the mover, the rotator, and the scaler. PD Jones, can we have more time for the game jam? Unfortunately, I cannot provide you with more time to finish your games. Maybe you need to go into the Dragon Ball Z like training chamber where there's like some time dilation going on. Mover is a great node. The vector transform was a great node, but the mover is even more kind of detailed in what you can do. Actually, then the rotator is a big improvement over the vector transform. But so we have in here, let's say, if we just want to move this, right? We're not doing anything fancy. We just want this cube to move from point A to point B. Let's say that point B is just like away from the camera, 5 units, and we want that to take 2 seconds, and we can just make that happen right away. So we'll start it, and there we go. It moves 5. Again, it's a little wonky because this has dynamic physics on it. So we turn that off. And there we get a smooth animation from point A to point B. And right now, this is just based locally on the position of this cube. So, right, it's the starting position is 0. We move forward 5 units. We want to move backwards. We make that value negative. It's going to move backwards. We want to go at an angle. We could do X as well. We're going to go 5 on the X and 5 on the Z. Now we're going at a 45-degree angle. And same, we want to go up. We can go 5 up. And there we go. We're moving. So that's super simple. If we wanted to, for example, move to a specific world coordinate, right? So we could change this to global. Parent is if it's glued. This object isn't glued to anything, so the parent is not going to do anything. But so now we're using global, and we're going to change move. This is where it gets a little complicated. I'm going to try and explain this properly in a short amount of time. So you have move, you have operation, and you have space. And so the operation is kind of how the thing is working. And so the basic move means it's going to move the units that are displayed here, right? So 5, 5, negative 5. Even if we go global, it's still going to, I think, basically make the same movement that it made before, right? But if we change this move to set position, now it is looking for a actual world coordinate. So instead of moving X or 5 on the X, 5 on the Y, 5 on the Z, it's actually going to go to coordinate 5, 5, negative 5, which is surprising. Oh, because my starting position is 0, 0, 0, it's the same. So like if we move this, let's move this off to the side a little bit, right? So we get some. So there now we can see it's moving to the same end position that it was before. But if we take this back and we put this back to move, now it's going to do the same motion that it was doing before. So does that make sense, right? Move is moving the units based on the position of the object, whereas set position is looking for a world coordinate to move that object to. And you could also, if you wanted to, for example, you know, we have a second object here, right? And we want the first object to move to the position of the second object, then we'll not set this off right away. We can grab a value inspector here, target it to our second object, and say we want the position vector. We're going to output that position vector to the vector in the mover. We want to make sure that's set position, global. This is going to do right away. We don't want it to do always, only needs to happen once. And there we go. Now they're going to move to the same position, and they'll continue no matter where we put this cube. It's always going to move to the position of that cube. Whew. Yes, and as y'all mentioned, there is another kind of animation tool coming. That was also the cinematics track that we saw in the Hype resources that I didn't look at because it's not ready yet. But that is going to be coming, another way to animate things in HypeHype with the cinematic tools. How can you turn and move forward in a straight line? Okay, so when we have our object that's going to move here, right? Let's bring this back just so we can see it a little more clearly. So what we're going to want is We're going to want this to be move. We're going to want this to be local. And so now movement here, we can kind of, when we have our move selected, you can see we have these arrows coming out. Those arrows are colored. So we know here forward is going to be blue, which is the Z. And if we want to say the H is the front, so forward would be a positive value here, right? But instead of making this like really big, I'm going to make this really small. We're going to make this loop. We're going to make our duration 0. So now we kind of have constant motion, right? Oh, it's way too fast, isn't it? Oh, no, this is just not executing. Wait, what's going on here? This is X. We don't want this anymore. Just going to turn that off. Actually, we don't even need this. Going to delete that. Oops. Is this? There we go. That was the no. Why is it? What did I mess up here? Oh, because these are. These need to be 0. All right. Now, okay, there we go. Smooth forward motion, right? So if we want to also rotate, then we'll grab a rotator. Rotator. Also target it to this. This time we're going to want to turn this way. That's going to be our y-axis, the yellow, or I guess it's kind of green, the green one there. Maybe we want to tie this to like a joystick. So let's add a joystick here. And we're going to say magnitude is what we're going to use. Move magnitude is going to go to the Y. This is going to be rotate local. That should be all right. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. All right, and let's make that speed just like way slower so that it doesn't go off the screen immediately. Right there. So there we got super slow movement, and we got our controller that'll turn it. And because we're using local force, it's always going to move when it's moving without the... Oh, why is that? Oh, because the magnitude is... We need the magnitude to go from -1 to +1. Wait, why is that? Oh, no. Oh, man, I'm an idiot. We don't want move magnitude here. We want this. We want an x-axis. X-axis goes to the y. There we go. And it's inverted, but we can fix that in the values. In fact, we can just, all we have to do is boop, boop, doop, doop. And we're always going to turn. And so if we don't want to have the thing move when it's turning, we could say here on touch start, activation enabled off, on touch end, activation enabled on. And so now when we turn, it's going to stop. And when I let go, it's going to start again. Eddie, I have tried to get Swamp to come over to Hype a bunch of times. Like, Swamp and I are homies in real life. We chat on a somewhat regular basis. But he's still very much into Trials. He has not hopped over to HypeHype. Move straight forward while turning. So you want the thing to be able to turn without moving, without affecting the forward motion, right? Is that what I'm picking up? In that case, we would go here. This we're going to change to global. So now it's always going to continue moving forward, but we can rotate the cube however much we want, and it'll keep moving in the same direction. So the key setting there is the space global. So with local, the way it moves is going to change with the rotation of the object. With global, it's always the same. Like, I mean, it depends on which way your camera is pointed, but by default, when you open a new Hype, the camera is on the kind of looking down the x-axis or the z-axis. So forward and backwards is z, left and right is x, and then up and down is y. Of course, if you've moved the camera to a different position, that might not be the same. But you can always tell when you open this up, you know, like if we were to turn this, right? And even if we were to turn our camera, why can't I deselect that? There we go. So we select that now, and we can see this is on global, so we still have those arrows are pointing in the global space. If we switch it to local, now those arrows are pointing in the local space. A little harder to see, but you can kind of see there. Ryan PH does some really cool stuff with animation and custom objects, most definitely. Okay, and that answered the question. Awesome. And now we have gone over. I do not mind at all going over when you guys have questions for me. So that was great. Thank you for the question. Thank you, everybody that asked questions and had some awesome discussions with me. It was also cool to see some familiar faces from back in the day. So, as mentioned earlier in the stream, next week, Thursday, we will be playing entries from the Hyper Game Jam. So come hang out. We're going to check out some cool games that have been created by all of you awesome folks at home. Until then, if you need help, I cannot recommend enough the Discord. We do also have a Reddit now. You can go to the subreddit. You might be able to get some help there. But I 100%, if you're looking for some help, you should go to the Discord. It's a great place to get help. There are lots of really knowledgeable people hanging out there trying to help people out. Until next time, I've been Shogun. This has been the HypeHype Live. Thank you once again, everybody, for an awesome stream. I will see you next week. Peace.
Want to turn your game idea into cash? Join our biggest game jam and win money. $20,000 prize pool. Here's what to do. Step 1. Download HypeHype for any device. Step 2. Make an amazing, simple game, which is playable with one touch and includes a leaderboard. Step 3. Publish by June 12th. Use hashtag HyperGameJam. And that's it. You're in. Got no experience? No problem. We have 2 categories. One, for new game creators. Other, for more experienced game devs. Best part? You and the community decide the winners.